How is everybody doing? This is another episode of RNP. I'm here with my man Paul. How's it going, Paul?
What's up, Mo? We're here on Thursday, Throwback Thursday, and we're going to be talking about uh, grading and the WATA scandal. And we're going to be
Yes,
digging into that today and how that affects us as resellers. You know, you more so because you do this full time, and me, I do it very passively, but it still, affects us because we find things in the wild. And we want to know if these things are worth. We always want to know if something's worth money or if it's not. And you,
absolutely.
Mo, I always see you on Instagram. You're always putting like little videos and posts about like finding these items and then selling them for like big dollars. You know what I'm saying? So this is something that definitely affects us. We're gonna get into it today.
Absolutely. And this is a topic that kind of I'm conflicted on, I guess. And I just wanted to start by saying a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about might use some company names and people's names. Um, we're basing this part of this show off some YouTube videos that we saw, and I'll put them down in the description. Carl Jobst, a YouTuber, put out a video, and there was a lot of news articles, and we'll get into that, that he cited on there. So we're kind of referencing what he said, and it's just our opinions, nothing more than that, because a lot of it is alleged at this point. Actually, 100% of it is. So wanted to start off with, in the news right now, there's a lot of talk about grading, and grading's been around for a while, right? They've been grading comic books, baseball cards, art, all kinds of stuff. So, and then
Clothing. Uh,
exactly.
I was telling you before we started, like there's such a thing as not even so much grading, but like the authentic, real deal. Like if you're buying a pair of Jordans, because there's fake
Mhm.
Jordans, or it's a whole. It's not only just like what you would traditionally think, like a baseball card, or like we're gonna cover in this particular episode, grading video games. So
Yeah,
this is like something that because we all know as resellers and we're out in the wild, as I was telling you before we started, Mo, like we pick something up, we want to know the value of it because that's how we make our money. We buy low or we buy at a low price to sell at a high price. And if something's authentic, if it's vintage, if it's the real deal, we can get some a pretty penny for that for sure, especially if we just spent a few bucks at the local flea market.
absolutely, absolutely. And then this is the way, I mean, being resellers, our perspective might be a little bit different from the average person or the average collector, for example. If you're buying, so let's just say you're going to go and buy, you're 15, you're just buying the latest, video game. You're buying it to play it. Now, as resellers, we're buying that to make profit. So I guess what we use, obviously, we use the market to decide, what something's worth, previous solds, that kind of thing. If it sold for 50 bucks before, you can assume that maybe I'll sell for mine for 50 bucks, maybe a little bit more. So when it comes to something where, like I get this a lot, for example, I'll get messages on eBay because I sell a lot of action figures. And then I got a message, I think it was last week. I'm selling an item for it was like $80. And the message was, I can buy this exact same figure for 20 bucks. And that was it. They didn't say anything else. They were on eBay, so they're an eBay customer, I'm assuming. But that was it. I can buy this exact same figure for 20 bucks. So if you were me, Paul, how would you take that?
Well, just to go on a quick rant, why is it that people go ahead and like you're familiar with this, I'm sure. Why is it that people email you and harass you about something that they can buy at a cheaper price? Then, dude, why are you harassing me? Go buy it at that cheaper price. Like, why are we
Exactly.
even having this
Exactly.
conversation? Dude, I get this all the time. I put up I have an inflatable kayak that's damaged. I put it up for sale, but it's big, and I don't want to ship it. I just want to like do local pickup. And then this guy just kept, I told him it's local pickup. I'm sorry. And I was very nice. I wasn't a jerk. I'm just ranting here publicly to you, Mo, and to whoever listens to us around the world. Um, but he just kept on going. He was like, "So you're really not gonna sell? You're not really gonna ship, right? You're really not gonna like, dude. I already said it. I didn't even respond. It's like I already said to you, I'm not going to. Like this is local pickup only. And And I didn't piece it out. I will over time. And another lady was, I just want the seats. And I told her, I'm selling it all as a whole. And she didn't like continue, but this other guy continuously. Like, dude, if you can find them someplace else for cheaper, then why are you harassing me? Why are you bothering me? Ask a couple of questions, but if you're just gonna keep on after I've already responded, then I'm not gonna reply. But
Exactly. I mean, I've got that same exact thing before in various different
but Mo,
ways.
I can find it for $20 someplace else.
I, my thought was the exact same thought you said. I'm like, wow, you took the time to come onto eBay, find me, find my email, write this email, send it to me. And you didn't even have a question, really. It was more of a statement. It was like, I can find this for 20 bucks. Great. Go and find it for 20 bucks. Now, what I've said that to, now the reason I brought that up isn't just because that my reaction was go find it for 20 bucks and rolling my eyes and I'm done. I said the same thing to my wife, and I said it to a friend too. I've asked this a couple times, and both of them had a slightly different reaction. They both said, well, what was it? And I said, well, is this action figure like, well, and then the next question was, well, could you find it for 20 bucks? And I said, yeah, but this is what I want to sell it for. And they didn't push it further than that. They don't really care. After that, they're like, okay, this is boring. But that was part of what I wanted to talk about today. That difference, our mentality compared to somebody that is just buying to have something. So it was kind of something like, am I? People use words like price gouging and inflating prices and stuff like that. I thought for a second after they said that, am I inflating this price for no reason? And then I went back and I looked at Souls, and they were around that bucks. $80 was not an uncommon price. So for me, that was okay. That's my benchmark. So this kind of ties back into, how you determine a price, kind of ties back into what we talked about in the beginning, we might talk about here, grading, determining a price, market value, right? The market determines the price. So grading, when I say to you, okay, you're going to get, a pair of Jordans, and I want you to, you bought those Jordans for 200 bucks, you're going to go get them graded. And then the grading, they're going to come back and give you a grade of whatever. And now it's going to be worth, I don't know, $2,000. Is that fair? I know it's a very general question. Or how would you perceive that as fair?
Yeah, that's a good question, Mo, because like if you start to sell it at $2,000 and other people who have similar pairs, which will be, a small number, they'll try to go ahead and jack it up as well in terms of the price. But what I wanted to, oh my gosh, what I wanted to say, oh my gosh, it left me, but it'll come back to me. But yeah, Mo, just to answer your question, if you jacked up the price significantly 10 times in this particular situation, then other sellers are going to see you, and they're either going to jack it up or they're going to keep it at their price and maybe do some point in between. But it is inflating the price, and this is what I actually wanted to say. This whole scandal that we're talking about, in a nutshell, it's kind of like you sell it at $2,000 and then your wife buys it at $2,000, and then you guys go onto several of the websites that interview you because this item was like a hot item, and you're talking about, yeah, the market's really picking up, but it's just you and your wife inflating it the whole time. There's no demand. There's no, I'm not saying that there's not demand. Let me not say that, but there is demand. But in terms of the price that you're setting it at, you're buying it back at in a way because it's coming right back into your own house, and you're telling everybody, yeah, this is now $2,000 when secretly it could just be 200.
Exactly. You created that hype. And we see it all over the place. Car salesman would be the best example. Come down here, you can get this price, blah, 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 blah. It's hype, right? But at the same time, there's rules that govern this. There's rules about this. I mean, when we're talking about, when we're talking about grading and what they're actually calling now as a secondary assets, secondary assets, like you're not buying and selling stocks, you're buying secondary assets. I think it's what they called it. And there have to be prices for that, like you said. let's just say that item, that pair of Jordans never sold for a used price before, or a non-new price. It's only ever been sold for the sticker price. How do you determine that price? So then you've got grading companies come around. And in my head, when I think of grading, and because I'm not somebody that really collects, I'm not someone that's ever had anything graded. I always think of things like comic books and baseball cards. And I also think of how these things, especially in the last couple of years, have kind of, especially with baseball cards. Baseball cards for me, I can remember collecting them in the late 80s, early 90s. And I remember the crash that came. And that wasn't because of grading, that was because of over manufacturing. But if you were to get, I mean, like you said, if with this particular situation, when we're talking about this company here, WATA, that allegedly has been part of all this stuff, what Paul was saying there is that we've got multiple companies going in there and buying items and having those items graded and selling them themselves on their on their own auction houses. So when you're part of 1, 2, 3 parts of the process here, that's the issue. It's not like Paul bought a pair of shoes from Foot Locker, put them on eBay, and said, you know what, I bought these for $200, I'm going to sell them for $500. And they either sell or they didn't sell. That's different, I would say. So that's what I'm getting to, the difference between the two right there.
That's a very interesting line there, Mo. I have a few thoughts, and I'm going to go a little bit all over the place here. First off, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like the example you just gave. Like, let's say if I did buy a pair of sneakers at Foot Locker for $200, they're incredibly unique. Like, it's one of those situations where I camped out because there's a very limited run. I mean, people do that all the time. They do that with everything.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that it comes to mind is like they're doing it now with Xbox Series X's. They're doing it with PlayStation 5s because they're very hard to come by. And with the chip shortage, there's not many of them being produced. So it's like scalpers that are just always buying these systems. And, you know, you can go online for something that was $499. That's the retail price. You can find it at $1,000 or more in terms of a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X. And I'm just because the video game world is something I'm more accustomed to. And you were saying, Mo, earlier how you're accustomed to, because that's how we've grown up, baseball cards, comic books being graded. And I don't think there's anything wrong with this particular scandal or like grading of video games, because video games have already been around for some time. So I'm okay with video games being graded, especially if they're sealed copies and they're from the 80s. They've never been opened or anything like that. I'm okay with that. What this whole scandal is talking about, though, is, you and I, like I gave the example with your wife, you guys being in the same house and conflating it. This, in a nutshell, once again, this WATA scandal was that this WATA company that hasn't been around for a very long time, they're just given authority by Heritage Auctions, and they're kind of in cahoots with each other. Like the one of the persons that runs Heritage Auctions. Just like I said, this is all very in passing, this information. One of the people that's involved with Heritage Auctions, he's like on the board for WATA, this game grading company, and that same head guy is the one who ends up buying the game that's this like Super Mario game from the 1980s from the Nintendo Entertainment System that's sold at 6 figures, and it's the person who is in this Heritage Auctions buys it back at that price, and then they kind of go on a media PR tour how this is an industry that's coming up, and in terms of grading games, and people are going to be getting 6 figures and stuff like that. But sometimes you can go on eBay right now and look for Super Mario Brothers, which I did while reading the story, and the cartridge without the box and unsealed is like $200. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or less. You know what I mean? So it makes you think, like, so the box sealed is being sold for 6 figures. Is somebody like kind of making a big like expenditure here, or is it like a situation where it's kind of like amongst this group of people that like, okay, we could build this up and conflate this? And you know what it makes me think of, Mo? You and I, we, and please, tell me if I'm wrong, you and I are people and this is even how we met, that try to look for like the next opportunity that we can make a bunch of money out quickly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're super like easily sold on this, and we met like through the green room,
Yeah.
and this is a situation where there were 2 or 3 individuals that they were like, yeah, you can make your living off of eBay, you can make so much money off of eBay, and we were like, what, you can make all this money off of eBay? Like, dude, I could do that for my house and I don't have to work. But I don't think that they ever, and they like showed this fantastic life of like going out and thrifting, and it's great, and this is the best life. But on the other side of it, how hard it can be, how it's tough to even make ends meet. Like depending on
Mhm.
where you live, like bills can be super high, and this is not suitable or feasible to like make your living off of it. You could possibly go homeless because, you think you can make a living off of this, and people do it. I'm not saying that they don't, but or even like a whole thing. Another thing that I fell into was Stephen James and even Steve Rake in a whole situation of like, and I'm not blaming these guys because there is meat on that bone of like writing Kindle books, and you could write all these Kindle books and live off of Kindle books,
Mhm.
and that whole process of either like being full time eBay or being a full time Kindle author, it's definitely doable, but the underside and the underbelly of that is like the amount of hours and time and money that has to be spent to do this is not easy. So it's kind of like, Mo and I, we got this business and we could just start building it up to everybody and just show all the good stuff and have the people come to us, and then that we'll rope them in, and then we'll get money from a subscription, and then just like kind of have access to us. But like, we're not. Are we really gonna go into the struggles? Are we really gonna go into like the meat and potatoes of this? And just really, I'm more making money off of you than making money off of what I'm saying I'm doing. And I'm not saying that that's what Steve Rakin or Bonafide Hustler did. I never really met them. You know what I'm saying? And that life is not easy. But it was kind of the way it was sold to us. And I don't doubt that they did make their living that way. But did they have like other support, like by a wife, a girlfriend? Did their parents take care of them? Like, what was the whole picture?
Mhm.
And I just kind of get that feeling from this WATA thing and this, like heritage auction things. Like, let's make this business, and then we could, secretly buy it in between us, and then, build it up, and like, hey, this is gonna be a big thing. This is gonna be huge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I know I said a lot there, Mo, but I'm gonna zip it. And if you have any thoughts, or like if you think I'm completely off base, please say so as well.
No, no. I think that you made some good points there because the idea, like the fast money for one thing, we see it all the time. Infomercials, late night infomercials. If they even still have those. Or
eBay, do YouTube, but you could be a
Mhm.
millionaire making videos on YouTube. And
Yeah.
that, like, we would just even in our last, which is very good. When I was like kind of going over it again, I'm sorry to just you said that and it just activated my brain again. Like, well, we did our kind of 6 month check-in, and you even said it yourself. Like, I don't know how YouTube works and how to
Yeah. I
figure it
don't.
out. And we've uh, these things are not easy, and these things require a lot of work, and it just makes you think like, I can get a job and put so many hours in and make this money, or I can do my own thing and put in double the hours, and I'm always working, and I'm have no time for a social life or family. You know what I mean? And you just have to kind of make that argument, like if one's going to be better than the other. Sometimes, dude, I'd rather just take the job and I can have my free time for myself, and the money and health benefits are all taken care of. You know what I'm saying?
No,
But
no. I know exactly what you're saying. I see
yeah,
a couple of correlations there. Even if actually I see a correlation between when we're talking about video games between the collector and why they would be so upset by something like this, and someone like coming in there, like you said, with like millions of dollars buying up stuff just because they think it'll be a quick buck. And the collector maybe that's been going in there every day for years, looking at thrift stores, looking at random posts online. Oh, can I buy that? Can I afford to buy that? Slowly, one by one, buying one game, one game, one game, one game, and building up their collection that way, as opposed to someone coming in the last few years saying, you know what, I see a dollar signs. I see a way for me to make fast money now. I've got this bankroll. Let's go in there, buy X, Y, and Z, and do it that way. And I see a total correlation between that and what you were talking about reselling. With reselling, kind of there's a lot of hype out there, a lot of YouTube videos out there that say, you know what, you can make $5 million off, so I made this. Here's, the biggest example is like,
You can make six figures with Amazon FBA, and then you're really making
yes,
20,000 after all the,
yes,
you really like take home was like 20,000 or something like that.
exactly. And it's not that, like Paul already said, it's not that people aren't doing it. I'm sure there are lots of people doing it. I mean, I make videos about, I bought this for the X amount and sold this for X amount. The question is the time that it takes to do that, and making it seem like it's a very easy thing to do, whether it's collecting video games or selling on eBay. Both of them take time. They take a lot of effort, and they're a huge risk. So, like, if we go talk back to this thing about video games, it's, yeah, okay, maybe people like me and Paul, we don't collect video games, but we've been around video games. We play them. That maybe we're not like collectors per se, but at the same time, there've been other industries where this type of thing has come and gone and destroyed the industry. Baseball cards, comic books have kind of gone through this. Lots of other things have to. Like, I think the historical one was what, tulip mania, right? I think they talk about that, how I don't even know when it was. I'm guessing a couple hundred years back, when people started buying up tulip bulbs because they saw, and they call that the first speculation on something. So this idea of speculation on something is good at a certain level, but like Paul said, the idea that you can make money like that is what scares me.
Yeah, and speculation, scarcity. Like there's only so many of these, and the window is closing, and that has been a sales tactic that's been used forever. And people always, always, always buy into it. They will buy into it before we were born, after we're dead. They will always buy into it. You know what I'm saying? Scarcity. Like there's only a few of these left. It's very limited, so you better get in good while the getting's good. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. And what scares me is that at the end of this, that's, I don't know, a year from now, 2 years from now, that because I sell on eBay, so all of a sudden you see these, things that are selling for millions. There's 5 of them, and then next year you see selling for, a couple $100, and there's like 50,000 of them. And then the market crashes, and then people lose. Maybe they spent a lot of money on that. Maybe to sell that for $1.5 million, they bought it for, who knows, they mortgaged their house together or something. That's the part that scares me a little bit. Like, there's even companies that allow you to buy parts of things. I think I looked it up here. I think they're called equity share companies or fractional share companies. Something is all described in that Carl Jobst video. And basically, people, instead of spending $500,000 on a copy of whatever video game, they buy a part of it. So it's like a share.
That's very interesting. Well, it's something that maybe is a future podcast topic where we can kind of dig into it more. But these things are evolving, and we're going to see in our lifetime mode, like you're seeing now with NFTs, they're kind of selling a digital file, and that going for large amounts of money, depending on what it is, like that as well. We're going to see come into this space that we're talking about. Like we're talking about like how video games and I think it's high time for video games to go ahead and be in this space, because in the circles that we've run in, we remember like a rock band and the guitar and the drum set, like that's actually worth money. And I remember like collecting those and sending this into Amazon FBA. We can make a quick buck, yeah, you know what I mean? And you did make some money doing that, So I think it's high time that video games, sealed ones, like from the 30, 40 years, like from my childhood, Atari games, like if it's worth something, I'm okay with the idea of it. You know what I'm saying? And this is just evolving. This is just going to continue to evolve. And like I said, it's going to happen with NFTs as well. It wouldn't surprise me, Mo, if in the next 5 to 10 years we start to see more like NFT stuff on eBay. Like they start kind of accepting it in a way, Maybe yes, maybe no. But what I do know, and we've said this before, that the idea of reselling and kind of garage sales and just selling stuff on a table outside, that will never, ever go away. Especially that we live in America and we always got junk to throw away and like stuff to buy, and we love to buy stuff. So that's never, ever going to go away for sure.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And it's funny you said NFTs. I know I'm an idiot when I barely know anything about NFTs, and anyone that knows them will say, no, you're a moron. In the back of my mind, when I think NFT, I'm thinking about turning on TV and seeing some hack of some kind that has happened, like, the credit card hacks and all that. And all of a sudden, somehow, and I know you can't copy them. Was it non-fungible? That's the whole point, is that you can't. But I'm just thinking, the way technology works, somebody will go in and take the most profitable one or the most expensive one and somehow figure out a way to copy it. I don't know. Maybe I'm stupid.
No, I don't think so. I
That's
don't
what I'm
think so,
thinking.
Mo. I think digital things may be easier to copy than a. Oh, that's not true. That's not true. Than a hard actual physical product. But hard physical products we see copied all the time with stuff made in China. I mean, everything's made in China, but then
3D printers now too. I mean,
yeah, yeah. So this whole thing with this scandal, uh, it's fascinating. Like I said, it brings back a lot of things like I talked to you about, like all these kind of like get rich quick kind of things. It also makes me like the first things that I started to look at when you sent this to me. I told you I looked for the Mario cartridge on eBay to see how much it is.
hmm
It also made me think like, so this isn't an illegal activity. It's
No,
definitely a scandalous activity because like
everything they've done technically is okay.
yeah, and what we're talking about it being illegal, like basically, you know, that this partner bought like the thing that was being sold by WATA, and then they came on and they did PR, like, yeah, this industry is going to be huge. Like, look at how much it's sold for, and it was like it's all kind of in between them.
hmm
It made me think of like, is it legal when companies buy back their own stock to kind of build
Good point.
themselves up?
Good
But
point.
then I googled it, and it says like when companies do that, it lowers their value. For some,
hmm
I read that like kind of in passing, but yeah, do companies buying back their stock, which happens all the time. And then what I don't understand is sometimes you hear people shorting a
hmm
thing because they know it's gonna like sink, so they'll make
Yeah.
money on it. I don't know how that whole thing works, but like
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the, the movie The Big Short, like the guys who made a bunch of money were like guys who were hedging their bets that the real estate market was going to go down, so they kind of bet against it and then they made a bunch of money in it. I really don't understand how that works, but it just makes you think about this whole
hmm
situation. It's kind of like, you gotta like some insider. I know insider trading is illegal, but like,
Yes.
you got like an insider tip that, oh yeah, this is about to crash, so maybe like either sell your positions or like kind of make sure to get in there and buy it now, because look at what happened with the GameStop stock.
hmm
And it was just like a bunch of Reddit like folks and internet folks that were like, we're gonna pump this up in between us, and so get in now, and then once it gets pumped up, you're gonna be, you're gonna have thousands. You're gonna be 1,000 there. You could possibly have been a millionaire. I'm sure that
hmm
people made millions, like with that GameStop stock situation in
Yeah.
between themselves. So this is kind of like the danger, but also the opportunity that can be seen within this situation. Like I said, it's one of the great freedoms of living in this country that I'm all for capitalism. I'm not for communism. You know what I mean? Because I just think it gives more and more people opportunities to make money. But then the argument is, but the people on top, don't they just control everything. But I'm not here bashing billionaires or nothing like that. I know I'm saying so many different things in this podcast, but it's just like it all just ties together to. Um, I don't think with these guys, in terms of like I said, pushing the video game market to be like greater than everything. I don't think that's bad. Kind of colluding with each other to be like, yeah, this is gonna be the shit now. But then it's
hmm
kind of just like five of them that's kind of like, oh yeah, 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 this is gonna be great, and it's all in between themselves, like kind of buying the thing. You know what I mean?
No, no, absolutely. And then, you said a lot. There's a lot to unpack there. But I mean, the idea of when people use like the word illegal or unethical, they're completely different things. What we're talking about here is technically everything. There's nothing that has been done that's been illegal that I've seen in any news report or anything like that. So that's another thing is we're not, obviously you can tell me and Paul are not really, we're not a stock advisors. This is no advice here of any kind. So, but yeah, with stocks, with anything like that, inflated markets, With this one, for example, if, like you said, your example, five guys coming together to create something and hopefully get it to sell more. The thing in the back of my mind that I keep thinking of is those five guys, let's just say their collective wealth is $500 or $5 billion. So those, let's say those, these are imaginary people, $5 billion together can really hurt a market. Like you cited the what do you call it, GameStop stock. So you've got Reddit users on an open forum, so it's open news, saying, hey, let's prop up the stock. Let's not let this happen. And you got these other guys trying to short it. And for a day or two, or maybe it was a week, I don't know, the GameStop Reddit users were actually propping up the stock until, the S hit the fan and real money came the other way. So is it about money? Is it money that dictates everything? Which I unfortunately think it is. And I think the scariest thing, my last point here, is that the big thing that scares me is that when you take millions and millions of dollars and you put it behind, like, say, video games, and they're buying these things and propping that $200 game is now $2 million, that takes the average collector out of it. Even me as a reseller, I love to see some buy it for a penny, sell it for $1 billion. That's great, but I'm not doing that. Maybe this is, hypocritical for me to say this. I'm not doing that to create a market to where the average person cannot buy that same thing for a penny, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, you're gonna go after some, some big Willie. You're gonna go after somebody who's got money. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And there is a whole market of that. I mean, we don't touch that like you and I personally, or we don't like maybe see it immediately, but that market is definitely there. It's the same people that spend like six figures for a mastermind or something
Mm-hmm.
like that, and you're like, so you're paying six figures to be in a Zoom room, with other people. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? But then
Yep.
again, if these other people, they have the skills or they know the shortcut because of their own experience of how they went from zero to, seven figures, then you want to be around these people. We always hear in these
Mm-hmm.
self-help podcasts and self-help books, self-help videos that, you are the people that you are around. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, what I ultimately wanted to say with this is, today, thankfully for the internet and social media and us being, so narcissistic, and I'm completely including myself. People put all their business out there. And what I'm trying to say by that is anything that you're gonna spend a lot of money and time on, and that includes people. You have to investigate them 100%. Investigate the people, investigate the situation. Like I said, if you're gonna spend a lot of money, because we are all like just want are we doing this or not, and quick fix, like quick, result. But definitely even spend time investigating anyone or investigating a company or investigating a situation, especially if you're going to spend a lot of money on it. And whatever a lot of money is to you, of 100, $3,000, $700,000, like investigate, especially investigate. Like, don't be weird about investigating people. Like, hypothetically speaking, if I was gonna date someone and like I'm going, let's say I was going to even to possibly like get married to someone, and by the time it gets to that point, you've already been spending a lot of time with them. But I would even still at that point, with my knowledge of like divorce and finances, uh, get an investigator and investigate that person, because you never know, like if they have like things in the closet, or like they may have killed somebody, or maybe they're been divorced and they financially ruined some other man, and because men a lot of times, I know I'm going completely someplace else, men a lot of times do get financially ruined by divorce. So traditionally, I mean, sometimes the other person does as well. But investigate companies, investigate people, especially if you're going to spend a lot of time and money on them, and that way,
Absolutely.
yeah, you could avoid this situation where you're paying six figures for a sealed video game that's really something else on
Exactly.
another platform.
Exactly. And then I'll leave it with a couple of points. Number one, and we could do a whole show on this. Sealed VHS, that's a thing, and graded sealed VHS going for I think close to 6 figure, maybe 5 figures. That's the thing. So, um, yeah, I mean, editing is my point to that. And
Anything can be told. Anything can be said. That
perfect.
it's anything can be said that it's expensive. Anything. Mo, how many
Hmm.
times have you gone into thrift stores and you've seen sealed VHS tapes? I'm talking about like sealed with the plastic, but then also has the seal from the company, like on the
Hmm.
actual tape and the box. Like this has
Yeah.
never been touched. And
Yeah, it
like
has that cardboard thing on the bottom, and it's printed in 1998 or whatever, whenever it
exactly,
was. It's
and
like
like
folded over. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like and somebody says, oh yeah, that's gonna be worth 6 G's when it's really worth $16. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying like
Yeah.
you gotta like do your like I'm not even saying investigate everything. I'm not trying to say that because that's too much time. But
Yes,
just investigate, man. Just investigate and ask questions.
absolutely. There's been too many markets that even, in our short lives that we've seen how many markets crash, rise and fall. I'm a skeptic as it is. So even though with sports cards, they're saying those are lowering now, and
Yeah, but sports
all of
cards they
these
kind of
things.
ebb and flow, don't they? Like sports cards, comic books.
They do. In the recent years, it's been a thing with like they've been going for ridiculous prices. Some of them. I don't know anything about sports cards, so that's another thing. So I don't want to say names or anything, but I've seen, yeah, I've heard people talking about how those prices are dropping now too. They have like 6 months backups to get things. Opinion on grading is not. I don't really think very highly of grading. Even before this scandal, I was never really a big one for grading stuff because I kind of feel like you're paying someone else in the hope of increasing money, and if that's money you need, to, I'm going to go down another whole rabbit hole, another show on that entire thing, that entire concept. But I'll just back up Paul's point. Double check everything you're buying, especially if you're spending money that you need, because whether it's grading something or buying something that you think, oh, I'm going to spend 100 on this, it's going to be worth 200 next year. I think make
Yeah,
sure you know that.
expensive things. Mo, like just piggybacking on your point, like expensive things. Double check and do a
Hmm.
little investigative work on expensive things. If it's not that
Exactly.
expensive and you've bought it in the past and you
Go for
know
it.
that it's gonna sell, then yeah, go to town. You know what I mean? But like
Yep.
if it's something that you're gonna spend money on and it's gonna tie up your money for a while, yeah, investigate, dude. Investigate and like you were mentioning earlier, like I think before we started it, in terms of you saw like an episode of Pawn Stars and
Hmm.
they took it to the thing, and we've seen those shows, and those shows are a lot of fun to watch. I forget the one was it Garage Wars or whatever, it's Storage Wars, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like that's always fun, you know what I'm saying? But that comes when like you're gonna get something pricey. If it's something basic, then that you could flip with the quickness, then yeah, you don't have to do any investigative work. Your gut works for that, right?
exactly, exactly. And then shows like Pawn Stars, obviously they're made to be, really elaborate, really like they're not going to show you something that's worth $5. They're going to show you that $5 million item, right? So I mean, I
Yeah.
I get it, I
And is
get
that
it.
even a thing? They tell you the value of it. That doesn't
Hmm.
even mean that the person sells it at that
Hmm.
price. It's like I brought it to you, Mo. You graded it, right? You checked it out, and this, come on, this is gonna be worth $5,000.
Hmm.
But dude, like nobody, I'm having it in my eBay store for already a year or two. Nobody's buying this shit at $5,000. I gotta sell it like at 1,000, just to get it out,
Exactly,
And
exactly.
it's just like, oh yeah, this is gonna be, come on,
Hmm.
this is gonna be so much. It's like, come on, dude. How can I
Yes.
flip this? How can I make my money back already?
Exactly. And then my final point, and I think this is actually, I think this, I'm rehashing Paul's point here actually. No, spend your money carefully, but just remember that somebody that's grading is a person that's grading this, regardless of what you're having graded. A pair of shoes, a sneaker, a comic book, a baseball card, a video game. And just remember that, this is not the end all be all. Just take your time, relax. If you can't afford something, don't buy it. And with with grading, take it with a grain of salt. I mean, there's millions of people out there that know it and they know, oh, this is great. You go to town if you have that knowledge. But if you don't, like someone like me, I'm probably going to be sitting on the fence just watching you. I'll watch you buy it, but I'm not going to partake. But
Yeah, and Mo, in your situation, which I think is great, like you run in a circle of resellers, so you can go to two or three people and ask them, like, is this worth something from your experience? And they
Mhm.
might be like an expert, or they might just have sold that particular kind of item in the past. So, it's good also to have this network, and to be that the fact that you would follow this podcast and you could hear Mo and you could reach out to Mo, and he has this Facebook group, and be around other like-minded people that may have sold these kinds of items before. If it's something uh, that is of value, that you maybe have taken to somebody, they graded it, but then you can speak to some other people as well.
Mhm.
And sometimes you could completely disregard what we're both saying, hold on to your price and stick with it, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. You could be that next news. You always see that newspaper article. So and so bought something at the thrift and it sold for like $1 million or whatever. You know what? I hope you find that. But for me,
Yeah, 100%. We're
yeah,
not poo-pooing on
yeah,
that at all. And I think what we're just talking about is like, Mo and I brought this particular kind of widget, and we're buying it from each other, but not publicly. And then we're like, oh man, this is gonna be the next big thing right here. That's not like cool. You know what I mean? But
yes,
that's kind of like an underhanded sales tactic, uh, and that's not cool. But
exactly.
like I said, Mo, it's funny because it makes me think back to our episode about Coke versus Pepsi, and all these underhanded kind of tactics even
Hmm.
big companies have done to kind of like build themselves up, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, like there's cocaine in Coca-Cola, Is there? Isn't there? Oh, we're gonna put out the conspiracy theory, right? Like we're gonna put out this flavor, and then everybody's gonna hate it, so the demand for the old Coke is we're gonna bring it back, and then our prices are gonna skyrocket, and everybody's
Hmm.
gonna be like, yay. So it's fantastic sometimes to see how the sausage is made, and all the underhanded things that are kind of in there that so many businesses do. And I'm not saying that we're not guilty of these things either, Mo. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
We've been pirates.
I
We've
bought
done our
something.
little underhanded things. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
it's fun, and just be on the lookout for it. You know what I mean? Like always, always, always. And your parents have told you this. Your friends have told you this. If it sounds too good to be true, it normally is. So I'm not saying to not do it. Just do some investigative work. That's all.
That's right. And then just remember that these industries, they're going to keep popping up. Grading companies are going to keep popping up. They're not going away. So it's down to us to be our own, police ourselves, police our own wallets, and then, just be smart about it. And like Paul said, if you don't know, ask somebody that does, that Don't have to watch TV to find out, some overhyped version of information, when you can maybe just go online and do your own research. So I think that's the main thing. Just be, what was it, caveat emptor? I believe it means buyer beware. So I think that's a good way to end this one. What do you think, Paul?
I definitely think so, and it's always I enjoy these because we kind of just start with a thread sometimes, and then that thread, like like, it's kind of like in the cartoon, we end up taking the whole shirt off. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly, exactly. Right, like it was that Weezer video, just pulling the thread in the sweater. There you go. But before we go, Paul, please let everyone know where they can find you.
as always, Mo, you're gracious enough to let me back into the house because I've been outside your door the whole time. But now you let me back in. We recorded this podcast, and now you're going to kick me back out again, until we record again. So just thank you for, inviting me once again on this podcast. And actually got to talk about some reseller stuff this time, and not like, my other crazy stuff. But we're going to get into that again very
It
soon.
will be back.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you everyone for watching. And I'm not going to give a big spiel. I'm just going to say thank you for myself and Paul. And stay tuned. We will be back. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Bye.